never let up, never let them get you fed up. You just step up, get your rep up, get your cash up, get your check up. The whole system's a setup. It's time we really get up. We've been about this revolution from the time we met up. Take it back. This up Malcolm X in '88, but revolution only works for those that will participate. You are great, they are fake. Yo, it's time to demonstrate higher level mental states. People congregate, show the love, not no debate. But these people hating and they hating, they should wait. It was amongst ourselves and God. Yeah, the truth is inconvenient, but the truth is never late. You can't see what they be doing, how they moving. You can see what they pursuing, making claims, none are proven. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. See, who is that me? Sovereignty's remedy. You don't need telepathy, it's white supremacy. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Fall for it. Don't fall for it. Bringing it raw, doing it raw. Government officials bringing the law. You never see what you never saw. 303. Open the game. Ignorance, that is insane. Don't fall for it. The rats and the Dems are the same. This one's shooting us up. That one's locking us up. This one got us stuck. That one's out of luck. You can front if you need to. The cycle never ends. No justice, but in 4 years they hyping us again. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If you thinking and you earning and you drinking and you burning and you really not concerning with the news and what they learning, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If you love it, never hate it. You agree it, don't debate it. HBCU educated, your degree is highly rated. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Yo, me, I'm not a fake dude. I'ma keep it real. They see through it all that America needs a heel deal. America ain't really sick. This is what it really is. Gunshots and cages for black and brown little kids. Now they acting like they not the cause of how we live. Do not tell me what you gonna do. I can see what you did. Look at her, look at him, look at them, look at me. Do you see our interests represented in society? No, you don't, and you won't, cause democracy's a joke. Every 4 years, these same people asking us to vote. Nothing changed but the Range Rover switching lanes over. I remain the flamethrower, knowledge reigns, game over. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Rodney King, George Floyd, man, we all saw it. So don't protest with defiance, but don't move with self-reliance. While the soul is being silenced for the religion of science. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. If you thinking and you earning and you drinking and you burning and you really not concerning with the news and what they learning, don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. There's no justice in the courts. We are always taking shorts. They can shoot us like a sport, and it's our trust that they want. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Take it up. Take it low now. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it.
It would help if I turn on the mic. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. I wasn't planning on doing live. I was laying back, but one of our family members requested this. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to see what was going on with the McCarthy removal. Which I have no problem with that. That's right up my lane. So I jumped up and got this thing going. And I ain't even gonna hold you up too much longer because I think they're about 45 to an hour in. I was kind of watching this on the back end. Exactly, so you don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. We're gonna keep on moving with content that matters. Fuck all that dumbass shit that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're gonna get into some shit that really fucking matter. Like I said, I ain't gonna hold y'all up. We're behind already. And the way it's looking kind of shaky for McCarthy, man. It's looking kind of shaky for the guy, man. How did I hit the mute button again? But like I was saying, Sorry about those glitches at the beginning there. I just jumped right in. I didn't do no test or nothing like that. I'm trying to set up this on the back end here. Hope everybody's enjoying the afternoon. And like I was saying, let's get to some content that matters. Shut sound, check this. Good. Oh yeah, they still in the, I rewinded back to the beginning, but I have it sped up so we can catch up to them kind of quicker. Thank everybody for coming into the room. You know, Mark Adams, Sonia, Sanjia, Leah.
208.
Shut up, white guy. Leah, thank you for joining me. I got too many computer mouses in front of me. Juicy Kim, thank y'all for joining me. Let's get into the show. DJ Renee, thank you for just coming into the room. I ain't gonna let's get this white guy going. E. Brooks, salute.
The nays are 218. The motion is not adopted. Pursuant to Clause 2A2 of Rule 9, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates, and the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole, will each control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield such time as he may consume to my colleague from Virginia, Mr. Good.
Gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Good, is recognized for such time as he may consume. And before the gentleman speaks, may I remind my colleagues that all parties need to be heard. Would you please clear the well and clear the aisles? And any extraneous conversations need to be taken from the floor. Gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like so many others, I deeply regret that we are here in what was a totally avoidable situation. I must take you back to January, however, which for many of us was about not repeating the failures of the past and letting Republican voters across the country down once again, when in the past, for many years, when Republicans have had majorities in this chamber, we have passed our major spending bills predominantly with Democrat votes, something the other side of the House has never and would never do with majority control. Back in January, I expressed my concern that the previous 2 years, during my first term here in this House, we had not used every tool at our disposal to fight against the harmful, radical Democrat agenda that is destroying the country, bankrupting the country, and under which the American people are suffering. But most in here wouldn't know that I helped persuade my 5 colleagues who comprised the remaining resistance in the wee morning hours of January 7 to switch our votes to present to let Mr. McCarthy become Speaker. And I went to him on this very floor to tell him that he was finally going to become Speaker on the next vote. In that moment, it was clear to me that I or we could have asked for anything in exchange for switching our votes to present, but I and we asked for nothing. The very next week, I requested and had a meeting with Speaker McCarthy to tell him he had my full support and that I wanted him to be successful because the country needed him to be successful. In the ensuing months, I helped him narrowly pass the Parents' Bill of Rights and the Limit Save Grow bill. I think both of those by just 1 or 2 votes, helping persuade some of my most conservative colleagues to come along despite some of the concerns they had with those bills. And we remained united as a conference through the Limit Save Grow vote as we passed a bill that was cutting spending to pre-COVID levels for non-defense discretionary spending, or just over $100 billion, historic spending cuts, as the Speaker had committed to do in January, and it also included a host of other conservative fiscal reforms. Unfortunately, however, that unity and that commitment to significant year 1 cuts and spending reforms were discarded in the Failed Responsibility Act, as I call it, which passed overwhelmingly, once again, with a majority of Democrat votes, validating the concern many of us had in January. Many of us had begged the Speaker, pleaded with the Speaker repeatedly to utilize the debt ceiling to leverage spending cuts and reforms. But instead, he negotiated an unlimited increase to the debt ceiling through January of 25, as much as we can come together and gleefully spend through January of 25, with no significant wins for the American people in that FRA, or Failed Responsibility Act. But the Speaker then said that we would use appropriations. We would use appropriations to bring the fight and finally reduce our spending. He said the levels of the FRA were the ceiling and not the floor, and recommitted multiple times to go back to the $1.471 trillion that was the limit save grow levels, radically, historically, saving $100 billion and lowering the deficit this year under Republican majority from $2.2 trillion to $2.1 trillion. That's what we were asking the Republican House to do, to go to $2.1 trillion. Meanwhile, the Speaker had committed to bring a balanced budget vote to this floor, something that still has not happened, despite the work that's been done in our Budget Committee to mark it up and have it ready to come to the floor. He also promised that we would bring all 12 appropriation bills well before the September 30 fiscal deadline. We did not. We simply, as Republicans, needed the Speaker to cast the vision, request the support of the entire conference, all of whom voted for the limit save grow levels, except for 4 who wanted to go even further, to lead us in joining him, sticking with him, supporting him, and sending the most conservative spending bills with the most conservative cuts possible to the Senate as the best starting position for negotiations with the Senate. Many of us begged and pleaded with the Speaker to do that over the past 5 months. When the Speaker failed us to pass our spending bills, bringing only 1 of 12 to the floor before the August district work period, members began to negotiate amongst themselves without the Speaker to find compromise. I was among those who reluctantly agreed last month to split the difference between failed responsibilities 1.586 and the limit save grow 1.471. I reluctantly agreed to do that, to go to 1.526 in order to pass our bills on to the Senate. We then essentially forced the Speaker, with the pressure of the calendar, the debt ceiling, or excuse me, the shutdown threat of the calendar, to bring those 4 bills to the floor last week, all of which I voted for, despite some of them not cutting the levels we'd agreed to and other concerns I had with the bills. I reluctantly voted for the 30-day conditional CR, or continuing resolution, because it cut an additional $10 billion in the month of October, going back to the pre-COVID 1.471 levels for defense, non-defense discretionary, 30%, and it had border security. I voted for that. However, when that vote failed, the Speaker this past Friday in the Republican conference meeting made it abundantly clear that he was willing to do anything to avoid the temporary discomfort and the pressure of a pause in the 15% of the non-essential federal government operations, which would guarantee that we would lose to the Senate Democrats and the White House. If you're not willing to say no, then you're guaranteed to lose. And that was confirmed with the passage of the unconditional 45-day CR this past Saturday, once again with 209 Democrat votes. The Republican bill, 209-1 Democrats, 51-0 on the Senate side. The Speaker fought through 15 votes in January to become Speaker, but was only willing to fight through 1 failed CR before surrendering to the Democrats on Saturday. We need a Speaker who will fight for something, anything, besides just staying or becoming Speaker. If there was ever a time to fight, with $33 trillion in national debt, a $2 trillion deficit this year, 40-year high inflation, 20-year high interest rates, a downgraded credit rating, and for the first time in modern history, the poll showing, despite all the help of the media blaming Republicans in the House, the poll showed that the public was blaming Biden and the Democrats for an imminent shutdown. If not fight now, when would we fight? Now is and was the time. With the Democrats driving the fiscal bus off the cliff at 100 miles an hour, we cannot simply be content to be the party that slows it down to 95 just so we can sit in the front seat and wear the captain's hat. Our current debt and our spending trajectory is unsustainable. We need a Speaker, ideally somebody who doesn't want to be Speaker and hasn't pursued that at all costs for his entire adult life, who will meet the moment and do everything possible to fight for the country. A red line was crossed for me, I regret, on Saturday, and chose regret that I must vote against the motion to table as I did and to vote to vacate the chair. And I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I share one thing in common with my friend from Virginia. This is a very sad day, and certainly a day I never expected to have to live through. You know, I think broadly speaking, as I look across this floor, you can divide members into 3 groups. I'm very happy to be in the first group. The overwhelming majority of my party supports the Speaker that we elected. We're proud of the leadership he's shown. We're proud of the manner in which he's been willing to work with everybody in our conference and, I believe, in this chamber. There's a second group, small group. Honestly, they're willing to plunge this body into chaos and this country into uncertainty for reasons that only they really understand. I certainly don't. And then there are friends on the other side. I mean friends, honestly, with great sincerity. I have a lot of friends over there. And I recognize that my friends on the other side have a very complex set of partisan, personal, and political calculations to make. And I certainly wouldn't presume to give them any advice about that. But I would say, think long and hard before you plunge us into chaos, because that's where we're headed if we vacate the speakership. You know, I personally think there's really 3 reasons why we've come to this point. That's because at each 3 of these critical minutes, the Speaker did the right thing. First, there was a Speaker vote. You know, he got 85% of the vote in our conference, 90% of the vote from Republicans on this floor. Yet we had a small group that decided, no, they would dictate what they want. He didn't let that happen. He fought. Now, he fought for himself, but he fought for 90% of us, too, that wanted him to be the Speaker, and I appreciate that. Then, of course, we had the debt ceiling deal. Nobody here thought he could pass a bill. Nobody in America thought he could pass a bill. He did what speakers are supposed to do. He passed the bill. Then he sat down and negotiated with a Democratic Senate and a Democratic President and came back with a good deal, a deal that will limit spending. He did the right thing. Finally, last Saturday on this floor, we were on the verge of a government shutdown that the vast majority of members in this chamber did not want. A substantial majority on my side, an overwhelming majority on the Democrat side. He put his political neck on the line, knowing this day was coming, to do the right thing for the country, without a doubt. My friends and I agree on that, whether or not we agree on the Speaker. He did the right thing. He did the right thing, I think, for this institution. He showed it could function in a time of crisis. And finally, I think he did the right thing for our party.
I think that's bullshit. If that's the case, man, a whole lot more things would be going on. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't be still sitting here looking at the same news stories. For those who keep up with the real news, you know what I'm saying, that they cutting out of the media and shit, you know, we would be a whole lot further. To me, he did a 50-50. To me, it looked like he's about dirty too, and he's covering his own tracks by prolonging a lot of investigations and stuff. But I ain't know that he held out videos from January 6th too. So it was more video after the 40,000 hours? That's crazy. That's real crazy. Boy, the corruption is deep, man. That's all I got to say.
He made sure that we could continue to negotiate and achieve some of the very objectives my friend from Virginia laid out, and achieve them in divided government, which calls for some degree of give and take. So I'm very proud of this Speaker. I'm very proud to stand behind him. Tomorrow morning, whether I win or lose, I'm going to be pretty proud of the people I fought with, and I'm going to be extraordinarily proud of the person I fought for, the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Oklahoma's time is reserved. Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, my friend from Oklahoma says that my colleagues and I who don't support Kevin McCarthy would plunge the House and the country into chaos. Chaos is Speaker McCarthy. Chaos is somebody who we cannot trust with their word. The one thing that the White House, House Democrats, and many of us on the conservative side of the Republican caucus would argue is that the thing we have in common, Kevin McCarthy said something to all of us at one point or another that he didn't really mean and never intended to live up to. I don't think voting against Kevin McCarthy is chaos. I think $33 trillion in debt is chaos. I think that facing a $2.2 trillion annual deficit is chaos. I think that not passing single subject spending bills is chaos. I think the fact that we have been governed in this country since the mid-90s by continuing resolution and omnibus is chaos. And the way to liberate ourselves from that is a series of reforms to this body that I would hope would outlast Speaker McCarthy's time here, would outlast my time here, and would outlast either of our majorities. Reforms that I have heard some of the most conservative members of this body fight for, and some of the reforms that we've been battling for that I've even heard those in the Democratic caucus say would be worthy and helpful to the House, like open amendments, like understanding what the budget is. We have been out of compliance with budget laws for most of my life, most of many of your lives. And by the way, if we did those things, if we had single subject bills, if we had an understanding on the top line, if we had open amendments, if we had trust and honesty and understanding, there would be times when my conservative colleagues and I would lose, might be a few times when we'd win. There'd be times that we would form partnerships that might otherwise not be really predictable in the American body politic, but the American people would see us legislating. These last few days, we've suspended the momentum that we had established the week earlier, where we were bringing bills to the floor, voting on them, staying late at night, working hard. That's what the American people expect. It's something Speaker McCarthy hasn't delivered, and that's why I've moved to vacate the chair. I reserve.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, Mr. Emmer from Minnesota.
Gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Kevin McCarthy has earned this. Under Speaker McCarthy's leadership, our House Republican majority has actually defied all odds and overperformed expectations again and again and again. It all started with the Speaker's race, when our Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, showed the American people how he would never give up. It carried over into the Speaker spearheading a rules package to create the most transparent, member-driven legislative process that I've ever seen since I've been here. And since then, Speaker McCarthy's Republican majority has been successful in bringing common sense back to our nation's capital by passing legislation to affirm a parent's right to be involved in their child's education, bolster American energy production, fully fund veterans' care and benefits, fight back against the regulatory state, and continue delivering on our promise to rein in Democrats' reckless spending by passing fiscally responsible appropriations bills. We've also achieved historic conservative wins, like passing the strongest border security legislation in history, passing the first Republican-only NDAA in history, and passing the first Republican-only state and foreign operations appropriations bill. So many Americans are better off because of Kevin McCarthy's leadership. American families, job creators, entrepreneurs, service members, law enforcement officers, and the list goes on and on. These are just a few of our House Republican majority successes. But make no mistake, we need Kevin McCarthy to remain Speaker if we're going to stay focused on our mission of delivering common sense wins for the American people. We've shown Americans what success looks like when we come together as a team. Now it's time for us to stand together stronger than ever so we can get back to the work our majority was elected to do. I'm proud to support the Speaker as we continue championing conservative priorities that will put our country on a better path. Thank you, Speaker McCarthy.
Gentleman from Florida.
I yield back.
The opening line of my colleague's speech was that Speaker McCarthy always overperforms expectations, but after tweeting, "Bring it," and after engaging in profane-laced tirades at House conference, he just lost a motion to table. So I wouldn't necessarily consider that overperforming expectations. And time and again, I've heard my colleagues say that, well, he deserves it because he went through a tough speaker contest. Let me let everyone know, he prevailed in that speaker contest because he made an agreement to fulfill certain commitments to make this an open and honest process, and he has failed to meet those commitments, and that's why we are here. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to my very good friend, Mr. Jordan of Ohio.
Gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. On January 3rd, we said the 118th Congress is about three things. Pass the bills that need passed, do the oversight work that needs to be done, and stop the inevitable omnibus that comes from the United States Senate right before the holidays. Kevin McCarthy has been rock solid on all three. We have passed the bills we told the American people we would pass. 87,000 IRS agents, that bill passed. Parents' Bill of Rights, that bill passed. Energy legislation passed. Border security, immigration enforcement legislation, the strongest bill ever to pass the Congress, passed earlier this year. We have done what we told them we were going to do. We can't help if the Senate won't take up those good common sense bills. They'll have to answer to the American people come Election Day. Oversight. We have done the oversight that we're supposed to do. Because of our oversight, we know that parents were targeted by the Department of Justice. Because of our oversight, we know that 51 former Intel officials misled the country weeks before the most important election we have. And because of our oversight, the Disinformation Governance Board at the Department of Homeland Security is gone. Because of our oversight, the memo attacking pro-life Catholics has been rescinded. Because of our oversight, unannounced visits to Americans' home by the Internal Revenue Service has stopped. That happened under Speaker McCarthy. And on the third one, on this side of it, we know there's a big old ugly bill coming at the end of the year, all kinds of spending, all kinds of garbage in it. We're still in that fight. Frankly, to Matt's point, we don't know how that one's going to shake out. But we do know this. On Saturday, we didn't take the Senate's bill. They tried to send over and shove it down our throats on Saturday. We didn't take that bill. And it was a tough position he was in. There were 5 options on the table last week. Option 1 was send the long-term CR over there. That would have leveraged the 1% cut, something a bunch of us voted for, both parties. Couldn't get the votes for that one. Second option was to focus on the one issue the country now is completely focused on, the border issue. We couldn't get the votes for that one either. But when the Senate tried to send us that bill, he said no to it. I think the Speaker has kept his word. I know my colleagues and friends are saying different. I think he has kept his word on those 3 things that we talked about on January 3rd, frankly, that entire week. He has kept his word. I think we should keep him as Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Yeah, the problem with my friend from Ohio's
No, I just did not hear Jim Jordan say keep him as speaker. And usually I roll with Jim Jordan, man, got daggone, but I don't know. For those who keep up, man, do you think Kevin McCarthy should stay as leader? You know what I'm saying? You think he is doing what he should be doing? To me, it looked like a lot of money going out the window, going over to Ukraine. I'm not sure what the hell they doing. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's your money going up out the window there, you know. So. But if Jim Jordan, I don't know. I had to give Jim the side eye on that one, man. Usually I'm with the bro on things, man. But that right there, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm trying not to do it I'm not trying to overdo it like I did the other day. You know what I'm saying? I think I kind of re-hurt myself. You know what I'm saying? And I think I sat up a little too long on that. That was like almost 7 hours. So let me pace myself on this one. I ain't gonna get as mad. So let's get back to the show.
argument is that many of the bills he referenced as having passed are not law. We are on a fast track to an omnibus bill, and it is difficult to champion oversight when House Republicans haven't even sent a subpoena to Hunter Biden. So it's hard to make the argument that oversight is the reason to continue when it sort of looks like failure theater. I yield such time as you may consume to my colleague from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized. How much time?
What he consumes.
So much as he may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a serious time. And my mind immediately goes to the young deputy from Cochise County, who 2 nights ago, while trying to apprehend a runaway vehicle smuggling humans across the border, suffered major injuries, transported to Pima County, where he's in a Tucson hospital fighting for his life. I'm talking about a border that remains wide open, where drugs come through the Tucson sector, the most gotaways known and unknown of any sector along the border. Terrorists coming in, people conducting criminal conduct coming in, criminal gang members, human smugglers, sex traffickers. They're coming across our border to the tune of hundreds of thousands every month. Now, I appreciate my colleagues and their position, but I would suggest something. I don't think you can just skip to last weekend and say, oh my goodness, a CR came out last weekend on Saturday. I think we need to go back to January. I'll say this body came together on the Republican side and we passed a good border security piece of legislation, H.R. 2. That's good. And then last week we passed the DHS bill and the DOD bills, which had funding for our CBP, ICE, military leaders, military men and women. But why were we successful in doing that? What happened to motivate us to get there? Well, for one thing, we didn't bother to pass the 12 appropriations bills as required under the Budget Control and Impounds Law of 1974. We didn't do it. And you know how many times that's not been done? 25 years in a row. And you know how many CRs this body has passed in that same period of time? 130. You know what that gets you? A $2 trillion plus structural deficit like we had in fiscal year 23. You know what that leads you to? A $33 trillion national debt, which is where we sit today. Leads you to somewhere north of $700 billion in interest payments. And you know why that happened? Because this body is entrenched in a suboptimal path and refuses to leave it. Refuses to leave that path. You cannot change if you're unwilling to change. We had every opportunity to change. We were promised change. We were promised we were going to go ahead and we were going to get those 12 bills done. And if we got those 12 bills done, do you know why you do 12 bills? Because it allows you to reduce spending, get rid of wasteful, duplicative programs. It allows you to set an agenda to restore fiscal sanity. We chose to not do it again. We were promised we'd do it. That's why at the end, some people said, we'll vote president. We'll go ahead. We're going to put our trust in Mr. McCarthy to become the Speaker. That didn't happen. I suspected that would be the case. That was my struggle. That was my struggle last November and December. I iterated it to this body, our conference anyway. When we got to the debt ceiling, again, that seemed to spring upon everybody like a surprise. And when that happened, I was in there for some of those negotiations on where that number would be. And I was astonished how that 1.5 trillion number was negotiated. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But I would tell you this. To his credit, the Speaker told us one thing that I believe to be true. He said that that's basically the ante in a poker game. He can sit down at the table. And I told my colleagues who supported that $1.5 trillion in 8 months, that you're willing to raise the debt ceiling, that's the opening marker. And indeed it was. And now projections are many $1 trillion above that. Yes, I think it's time to make a change. I'm not the only one. And thus it's somber. Thus it is somber. But what have we failed to accomplish? Why didn't we get this stuff done? When we're campaigning, we're talking about an extension of the debt ceiling to January of 2025. We're talking about additional Ukraine funding. Is that going to be, maybe that's good in your districts, maybe it's not. But that money's not offset. We're not paying for it. We haven't designated how we're going to pay for that. The same with the disaster package. The IRS remains 80% increased. And I would tell you, I could go down the list, but I will just tell you why this happens. When you don't do your 12 budget bills, and you rely ultimately on a CR, and I'll get to the calendar in a second, what happens is you cannot leverage this administration to actually enforce the border laws that you need to have enforced. This is a lawless Biden regime. They will not enforce border laws. And we can pass them till we're blue in the face, but until you leverage the budget and the spending, you will not see enforcement by this administration. So now take a look at the calendar that we were just provided last week. We're supposed to finish by November 3rd, our 12 bills. By November 17th, that's when we're supposed to see that the conference committees have come together, both sides, and we've resolved this. I don't believe that that's going to happen. It wasn't going to happen before. You were betting on the come again. At some point, I'd urge you to stop betting on the come and bet on the reality. That's why I can't support the Speaker any longer. I'll be voting for the motion to vacate the yield back.
Reserve. Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Florida. Reserves. Members are advised to direct your comments to the chair, please. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from Arkansas, Mr. Westerman.
Gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Westerman, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Selah, S-E-L-A-H, Selah. This unique word scattered throughout the Psalms signals to the reader to pause, reflect, consider, and maybe take a deep breath before moving on. Psalmists use Selah to emphasize the significance of a statement. For example, King David wrote, "Blessed be the Lord who daily bears our burden, the God who is our salvation." Selah. That is a profound statement with huge implications. It deserves more than a cursory consideration. Within the next hour, this House will vote yea or nay to vacate the Speaker's chair, a profound action with huge implications. This was last tried in 1910. Joseph Cannon won the vote. 113 years later, my office is in the Cannon Office Building, and Uncle Joe Cannon's statue sits just outside this chamber. No living human has taken the vote we're about to take. It deserves that we pause, we reflect, that we consider deeply the ramification of our actions. To my fellow Republicans who would consider voting yes to removing our Republican Speaker, please pause and ask yourself 2 questions. Will your yes vote make America stronger? Will your yes vote strengthen conservative policies? If you believe yes is the right vote, please stand before this body and the American people and articulate your plan. Not your grievances or your wishes, your plan. Convince the mass majority of the Republican conference that strongly disagrees with you to follow you. If you cannot do that, which you have failed to do so far, then voting yes is at the least a disruptive overreaction. In reality, it's selfish, bad for conservative policies, and bad for America. That's why I strongly support Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and why, without hesitation or reservation, I will vote no on this disastrous resolution. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida.
There's nothing selfish about wanting a Speaker of the House who tells the truth. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from Kentucky and fellow member of the Rules Committee, Mr. Massey.
Gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, as the only still serving co-author and co-sponsor of the motion to vacate Speaker Boehner, I can tell you this motion to vacate is a terrible idea. As the only member who's serving here who took every chance to vote against Speaker Boehner and to vote against Speaker Ryan, I can tell you that this chamber has been run better, more conservatively, and more transparently under Mr. McCarthy than any other speaker that I have served under. As a member of the Rules Committee, one of three conservatives who were placed there out of trust, the Speaker gave us a blocking position by putting 3 of us on there to keep an eye on the Rules Committee to make sure the process was fair and even. I can tell you it's been fair and even. None of us are voting against the Speaker today. Regular order is at odds with predetermined outcomes. Yet the Speaker is being accused of not holding to regular order and predetermined outcomes at the same time. It is not possible. You cannot be for both at the same time. I was a party to the January agreement, and I can tell you that there were promises in there, but there was never a promise for an outcome. There was never a promise that you could force Joe Biden to sign something. There was only the promise that we would try, and try we have. We have tried in the Rules Committee. We have tried on the floor. We've been trying this since this summer, and there's enough blame to go around for why we don't have 12 bills, but part of it was a relitigation of the debt limit deal. By the way, there was no promise on the debt limit deal, no conditions on that in January, 0 whatsoever. I was in the room for that. So the 12 bills were delayed over what? $100 billion. That's a lot of money. But it's nothing compared to the $2 trillion that I came here to object to when Speaker Pelosi and President Trump pushed that bill through. We've had over 500 amendments. Listen, this is a referendum on this institution. We have tried regular order. Speaker McCarthy has tried regular order. If regular order fails today, if you vacate the Speaker, nobody is going to try it again.
Gentleman's time has expired.
This institution will fail. Please do not vacate the Speaker.
Gentleman from Florida.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Florida reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from California, Mr. McClintock.
Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, if there was ever a time for sobriety, wisdom, and caution in this House, it is right now. If this motion carries, the House will be paralyzed. We can expect week after week of fruitless ballots while no other business can be conducted. The Democrats will revel in Republican dysfunction, and the public will rightly be repulsed. It'll end when the Democrats are able to enlist a rump caucus of Republicans to join a coalition to end the impasse. This House will shift dramatically to the left and will effectively end Republican House majority that the voters elected in 2022. And this, in turn, will neutralize the only counterweight in our elected government to the woke left's control of the Senate and the White House at a time when their policies are destroying our economy and have opened our borders to invasion. There are turning points in history whose significance is only realized by the events that they unleash. This is one of those times. We are at the precipice. There are only minutes left to come to our senses and realize the grave danger our country is in at this moment. Dear God, grant us the wisdom to see it and to save our country from it.
Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, there is nothing sober, wise, or cautious about the path we are on. We are on a path to financial ruin if this House does not take a different posture, a different procedure, and yield toward different outcomes and a better future. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1.5 minutes to my very good friend from Florida, Mr. Jimenez.
1.5 minutes. Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
I stand before my colleagues in the nation as a proud representative of the great state of Florida. I truly am beyond. I'm blessed to represent the paradise that is Miami-Dade County and the Florida Keys, and I am beyond proud to represent my community before this Congress, to stand with a leader who has consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to our country and to the principles that define us as Americans, Kevin McCarthy. Today is historic for a lot of reasons. For one thing, this is the first time in over 100 years that this has been attempted.
but it's also because we're part of a Congress with historically tight majorities for the Republicans in the House and the Democrats in the Senate, and we have a Democratic White House. Divided government, that's what we have. The need to negotiate, to find solutions to the issues facing this country. That's a reflection of the principles that are uniquely American, principles that make this country exceptional, and principles that allowed me, an exile who came here from Cuba, fleeing communist Cuba, to serve in this very institution. You see, I wasn't born here. And everything that I am, everything that I ever will be, is thanks to America. The best part about it is that my story, the story of the community I'm so proud to represent, is a story of many in this body, is that we are not the exception in America, we are the rule. That's the America that Kevin McCarthy has fought for his entire career. Kevin McCarthy is a champion for the American dream, and he's proved it as our speaker. Thomas Jefferson once said, "I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the guise of taking care of them." McCarthy.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you. Let's keep Kevin McCarthy our speaker. A great man, a great leader, a great speaker. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire as to my remaining time?
Gentleman has 9 3/4 minutes remaining.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1.5 minutes to my very good friend from Iowa, the gentlelady, Ms. Henson.
Gentlelady from Iowa. Ms. Henson is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of our Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Let's be very clear here. We would not have a House Republican majority without the relentless efforts of this man, our Speaker. Under his leadership, Joe Biden's policies have had a check and balance. His policies have created a horrific border crisis. 10,000 illegal immigrants a day surging across our border. Under Speaker McCarthy, Republicans have passed legislation to secure our border. Joe Biden has done everything to squash American energy, selling our oil reserves to China. Under Speaker McCarthy, Republicans have passed legislation to unleash American energy dominance. Joe Biden has spent taxpayer dollars like there's no tomorrow. Under Speaker McCarthy, we have returned to passing single subject appropriations bills and ending the status quo of omnibus spending. One of the most valuable pieces of advice that I received was from Kevin McCarthy when I got here to D.C. He told me to separate the signal from the noise. The noise is those who are causing chaos for their own personal benefit while ignoring the needs of their constituents and this country, grinding our work here to a halt. The signal is the many accomplishments that we've delivered for the American people with Speaker McCarthy at the helm. The signal is the failures coming out of the White House time and time again. The signal is the work that we must do today and going forward to save our country for my kids and yours. My colleagues today here have a choice. Be a chaos agent or get back to work. So I call on my colleagues, let's separate the signal from the noise. Let's support our Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, so we can get back to work for the American people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've caught the signal, too. The signal is for $33 trillion in debt, facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. And our fellow Americans may be watching, wondering, how does that happen? How does the greatest country in the world have a process so broken that it would be laughed out of the rooms in the halls of the state legislatures where many of us come from? Here's how it works. The law says we're supposed to have the very single subject spending bills that my colleague referenced in the summer. That we're supposed to have that and move it. But there's a dirty little secret in this town, and that is if you delay, if you hold the bills, if you make multiple contradictory promises, as Speaker McCarthy has done, and you back everybody up against shutdown politics, well, nobody wants to shut the government down. No one cheers for a shutdown. And of course, when people are backed up against shutdown politics, the decision calculus changes. So year after year, decade after decade, we break the law and we do the same thing. We pass a continuing resolution, then we pass another continuing resolution, and then it's either another continuing resolution or an omnibus bill or a series of minibuses that lump these disparate things together. The American people want all of us to take votes on single subject matters. They don't want to see these things all mushed together and log rolled. And it was concerning to me to hear of news of a secret deal on Ukraine funding that would have log rolled more money with Ukraine with our southern border. Now, how offensive is that to our Customs and Border Patrol, to our ICE, to the people that are suffering as a consequence of our border, that some of my colleagues are only willing to stand up and fight for our border if they could send billions to Ukraine to fund their border too. Well, I've had enough of that, and that's why I brought this motion to vacate. I reserve.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to our distinguished Majority Leader, my good friend from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise.
Gentleman from Louisiana, the Majority Leader. Majority Leader. Mr. Scalise is recognized
Mr.
for 1
Speaker,
minute.
thank my friend from Oklahoma for yielding. And when we go back to January, as many people have, we knew that it was going to be a narrow majority. We also knew that it wasn't going to be easy. How many of us came here because we thought this job was going to be easy? How many of us thought the task ahead of us to address the problems of this country was going to be easy? One thing we did know is that if we were going to finally start confronting problems that had been ignored for years and years and years, we had to change the way that this place worked. And one thing Speaker McCarthy embraced from day one is to start making those kind of changes to this institution, opening up the process, allowing members to be more engaged, having amendments come to the floor, single subject bills, doing appropriations bills. Yes, making that happen overnight is not something that happens automatically, but it started to happen, and we are now seeing the fruits of it. Just last week, we had 4 different appropriations bills on this House floor, 4 different ones. Now, those bills took weeks and weeks to finally get to the floor, going through an open committee process, hundreds of amendments, each one of them, where Republicans, Democrats could bring their ideas. And we debated those bills on the floor, some until after midnight, where members could actually participate in the process. This has been a broken process for a long time, but it's a process where if we're going to confront the problems that families are facing, because right now we need to resolve our differences inside this House chamber before we can then go and fight for those families who are struggling. But every single day across America, families are struggling with real problems that we're going to have to get back to solving. And those problems are real for them. It's inflation, it's the economy, it's high energy costs. It's an open southern border that doesn't just affect the border states, it's affecting every state, Republican districts, Democrat districts. Everybody knows it. And it can be ignored by the White House, but this House is the only body that started to take action. When we, with H.R. 2, and then with the border bill last week, and with the action we took last week, over 70% of government funding passed out of the House. However everybody voted, Republican or Democrat, this House passed funding for over 70% of the federal government's operation, and it's sitting over in the Senate where they passed 0. And we're going to beat up each other and talk about our internal processes, and we need to get our internal processes working better. But you know what? So does that other body over there, and so does the White House. Everybody in this town needs to be engaged in addressing these problems. But if we don't start here, and if we don't focus these next 45 days, because that's what we've got in front of us. We've got 2 bills this week. We've got 2 more appropriations bills next week. And if we're going to be confronting those, we've got to stay focused on our mission. What the other side does, let's continue to put pressure on them. But we also need to put pressure on ourselves to do our job. And Speaker McCarthy's been leading at the top of the level to make sure that we have the tools to do our jobs in a different way than the House has done it before. This House is going to have to continue to make those changes. But the American people sent us here to confront those problems. We're finally starting to. This isn't the time to slow that process down. We need to keep doing our work. We need to keep fighting for those families who are struggling. But so does the Senate, and so does the White House as well. Let's keep doing this work that we were sent here to do. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized with 7 3/4 minutes remaining. Mr. Cole commands 12 1/2 minutes left in this debate. Gentleman from Florida.
I agree with everything that the Majority Leader said in those remarks, except one thing. It is astonishing to hear any colleague give Speaker McCarthy credit for moving on to the single subject appropriations bills. As you heard my colleague Mr. Biggs say, that was never the plan from Speaker McCarthy. The week before we moved on to those single subject appropriations bills, the plan was another CR. He pitched a CR. They tried to get us to vote for a CR, and only when a brave few said we are done governing by continuing resolution. We are here to eulogize the era of continuing resolution. We will not do it. We will not pass it. These bills can go. The spending may rise and fall as the years pass, but the notion that we're going to lump in the Department of Education and the Department of Labor with our military and our troops and our Border Patrol is fundamentally unserious, and I would suggest chaotic. We cannot do that. It was only because we forced that to happen. And by the way, if we continue with Speaker McCarthy, the appropriations process will go right back to what he wanted it to go back to. Just a sideshow. just a puppet show, just something to keep the hamsters on the hamster wheel as they continue to back people up against a calendar, centralize power with the lobbyists and special interests that move all kind of money through the leadership, and then that's how they get their way, and that's why the American people have been getting screwed decade after decade, and I'm not going to tolerate it anymore without a fight. I reserve.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, fellow member of the Appropriations Committee, Mr. Garcia of California.
Gentleman from California, Mr. Garcia, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to recalibrate our minds on what is actually happening here today. This proceeding looks important, it feels consequential, but let's look at what else is happening across America. Today, about 300 Americans will die from fentanyl poisoning. Today, about 11,000 people will illegally penetrate our borders. Today's debt is approaching $34 trillion. Today's mortgage rates just hit a 25-year high, now approaching 8%. Our energy prices are again at back-breaking highs with gas approaching $8 a gallon in my district. Today, China and the CCP grow stronger with an intent to go to war by 2027, and our military is experiencing record low retention and record low recruitment. This is the reality of today for 335 million Americans under President Joe Biden. It's a dark and scary reality. This Republican majority here today in the House is the only firewall against the damaging far-left policies of the Biden administration. The single-subject appropriation bills that we were supposed to be voting on this week will literally fight to reverse the darkness of these realities and fight inflation, cut spending, secure our border while enhancing our nation's security and investing in our soldiers at a meaningful level. But today, this body filled with people in fancy suits led by a few Republicans who are running with scissors and supported by Democrats who have personal issues with the Speaker, have uncertain intentions and even more uncertain goals, and they've decided to make today about drama. Not about solving problems and helping our constituents, but about drama. We need to be the no-drama option for America, this party, this majority, and I fear that this self-inflicted drama of today jeopardizes our majority and by definition removes the last layer of defense protecting America from this Biden administration. Let's dispense with the drama, do our jobs, and move on with defending this beautiful country. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida.
Yeah, I'm here to solve problems too, but we have decade after decade of history showing us that you don't solve any problems with continuing resolutions and omnibus bills. That creates more problems, more debt, more inflation, more pain for American families. So the way to solve problems is to break the fever dream of governing by continuing resolution and omnibus bill and instead return to the very single subject spending bills that we will only get if my resolution passes to vacate Speaker McCarthy. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from North Carolina, Mr. McHenry.
Gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. McHenry, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every step of the way, Speaker McCarthy has been doubted. After the first Speaker vote, he was mocked, right? And after 15, they called him Speaker. And even then, it was the media and the left that mocked him. With the narrowest Republican majority in a generation, what did we achieve? We brought the president to the table when he stubbornly said for 100 days they would not negotiate on the debt ceiling. I took him his word. The Speaker said, no, we'll get him to the table. And sure enough, we did. The result? The most conservative spending package we've seen in generations, the largest spending cuts year over year that any Congress has passed. Conservative outcomes. So I understand your position on the left. I understand that. But my friends on the right, why? And then this past weekend, I understand the frustration on the left at what happened on the continuing resolution. But why will we have conservatives object to that? Why will we have House members object to that? We rolled the Senate. We never roll the Senate as a House. Moreover, we never roll the Senate to get less spending, and we got it this weekend. So I understand why the left is mad. What I don't understand is why some Republicans think that that's a bad thing. The frustration for me today, I understand where the liberals are. I know you can support the constitutional order, except in a moment like this when you are questioned on that. I understand that. You can't be counted on in a moment like this with the state of the speakership. But for Republicans, why will we give up a conservative working majority for better outcomes and hand the keys over to the Democrats? Why would we do that? And furthermore, with this record of success that we've seen Kevin McCarthy and a Republican majority produce in a Washington run by Democrats, we're going to throw that away, resulting in more liberal outcomes, not more conservative ones. So I understand why the left is where you are today. You don't like an effective conservative majority, and I don't blame you. But on the right,
gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Florida.
It is lovely to hear from the principal architect of Mr. McCarthy's debt limit deal, but here's the reality. The only Republicans in America who believe that the debt limit deal was conservative are in this chamber right now. Because all over America, Republicans think that when you negotiated that debt limit deal, they took your lunch money. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1.5 minutes to my very good friend from my home state, gentlelady Ms. Bice.
Gentlelady from Oklahoma, Ms. Bice, is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Under his leadership and a very small 5-seat majority, House Republicans have achieved, contrary to popular belief, numerous victories. We passed the Parents' Bill of Rights, the Lower Energy Costs Act to lower the cost of gasoline and restore American energy independence, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which was one of the largest enacted cuts with enforceable spending caps in American history, and H.R. 2, the most conservative southern border security bill in history. All of this while fully funding our military and our nation's veterans. Let me be abundantly clear. Attempting to remove Speaker McCarthy will put this House in a stalemate and paralyze our ability to fight for our constituents and instead create a fight amongst one another. We have 43 days to restore fiscal responsibility and advance conservative appropriations priorities, which is exactly what my colleagues have asked for. Instead, we are threatening any House proceedings. This is an unnecessary distraction. Working together under the leadership of Speaker McCarthy is of the utmost importance. I stand and strongly support Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House, and I encourage my Republican colleagues to do the same. Thank you, and I yield.
Mr. Cole continues to reserve his time. He has 7 minutes remaining. Mr. Gates controls 5 1/2 in this 1-hour debate. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I'll reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend and our distinguished conference leader, Ms. Stefanik of New York.
The gentlelady from New York, Ms. Stefanik, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Anyone and everyone who knows Kevin McCarthy, whether they are friend or foe, knows that Kevin McCarthy is a happy warrior. He is tireless. He has that uniquely American grit. Under Kevin's speakership that lasted 15 rounds of him never giving up, this Republican majority has exceeded all expectations. We reopened the People's House. We passed the strongest border security bill in our nation's history. We passed an energy plan to unleash American energy dominance. We passed defense bills to support our troops. Under Kevin's leadership, he's brought hundreds and hundreds of bipartisan members of Congress to Israel, our greatest ally. He elected the most diverse class of Republicans ever, with the largest number of Republican women ever.
I have to stop her right there. I mean, I understand I ain't got my color right on the screen as far as what y'all seeing, but this is a red, white, and blue pattern. Man, she looked like something out of an old Popeye cartoon, man. This is olive oil with extra weight, man. I don't know. Let me leave her alone. I just needed somebody to pick with for a minute.
Ever in American history. This boy from Bakersfield, he cares deeply about his constituents, his country, and the American people. And that includes each and every one of his colleagues. He's been to our districts,
Gentlelady will
hosted at our
suspend.
weddings, celebrated the birth of our children, and has cheered us when we haven't believed in ourselves, which is why the Republicans strongly support Speaker McCarthy and are proud he is our Speaker. And I yield back.
Gentlelady, it was not the intent to cut the gentlelady off, except that we have too much chatter going on in the House chamber. Every member deserves to be heard. So if you have private conversations you need to have, please take them from the floor. Gentlelady may continue.
As I have said, the Speaker has been to our districts. He has toasted at our weddings. He has celebrated the birth of our children, mourned the loss of our loved ones. Now more than ever, the Republicans must unify. The stakes are too high. We need to save our country, which is why this conference is proud to strongly support Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida.
I would just say, if this House of Representatives has exceeded all expectations, then we definitely need higher expectations. And while it's heartwarming and kind that the Speaker calls people on their birthday and visits their district and congratulates them on their children, please know this isn't a critique of the individual, it's a critique of the job. The job hasn't been done. We've had multiple contradictory promises, and it's just quite something. For those of you keeping track at home, the last 3 speakers you've heard opposing my resolution all voted for the debt deal. So if you believe that the debt limit deal that Speaker McCarthy brought into law was a good thing, maybe you agree with their perspective. I think the debt limit deal was a terrible deal, and that's one of the reasons. It really was the original sin of the McCarthy speakership, and it's one of the reasons I seek to vacate the chair now. I reserve.
Gentleman, time is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from the great state of Louisiana, Mr. Graves.
Gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Graves, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the gentleman from Oklahoma for yielding. Mr. Speaker, we've been here for 8 months with one of the tightest majorities in modern history. Yet look at the accomplishments of this majority, this conservative majority, with the majority of Republicans voting for the strongest border security in my lifetime, fighting against this incomprehensible energy policy that's driving up energy costs 40%, utility and gasoline payments, pushing Americans into energy poverty. We passed legislation to unleash America's energy resources, pushing back this administration's brainless policies on energy. We passed legislation to pull back, to stop spending $4.8 trillion. Then I want to make note, my friends that are carrying this motion to vacate opposed. We've passed legislation to streamline regulations, permitting, environmental laws for the first time in 40 years. Again, my friends here opposed. We strengthened work requirements for welfare to get people back into the workforce. Again, my friends over here opposed. I keep wondering, what is going on? Are we redefining what conservative is? What's going on in this country today? What's going on in this body? We have Freedom Works, Heritage, Chip Roy, and Jim Jordan say something's conservative, and these folks say it's not, and they're right. And all of a sudden, my phone keeps sending text messages. Text messages saying, hey, give me money. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, give me money. I filed a motion to vacate. Using official actions to raise money. It's disgusting. It's what's disgusting about Washington. Mr. Speaker, we've watched as these folks right here that have brought up this motion to vacate have refused to pay our military service members. Refused to pay them. I want to quote my delegation member, my senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy. If we're not going to pay our service members, if they're not going to be there to protect us, next time someone invades America, call a crackhead. Let me know how that works out for you.
Yield the gentleman another 30 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard people talk about bad faith here. I've heard them make reference to this January agreement. My friends from Arizona, Virginia, and Florida. Let me be crystal clear. Not a single one of them were in the room. You know what? You know what? The Speaker didn't meet the targets of that January agreement. He exceeded them. The greatest savings in American history. The greatest savings in American history. Mr. Speaker, this isn't about fundraising. This is about our country. It's about our children and our grandchildren. We need to stand behind this.
30 seconds.
We need to stand behind the greatest speaker in modern history that has delivered the best conservative wins for this country. I yield back.
The gentleman from Florida.
My colleague says we've passed the strongest border bills in history. Well, guess what? Look at the border right now. We didn't use sufficient leverage in the debt limit or in any other thing to actually get results on the border. The border is a disaster, really something I don't think you're going to be campaigning on, that you fix the border. Second, you said you streamlined regulations. What the gentleman from Louisiana doesn't tell you is that all of the regulatory reform he was just bragging about is waivable by the stroke of a pen of someone in the Biden White House. Do you really think you've got anything for that? It's a total joke. And then finally, the welfare to work that the gentleman from Louisiana said we got. The welfare programs that they said that they streamlined with their welfare to work stuff, they're actually going to grow. Because while they did work requirements, they blew out those programs with expanded eligibility. I'm real glad you guys didn't put work requirements on Medicaid. It probably would have resulted in Medicaid expansion. And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans.
Matt Gaetz is up in here tearing it up, boy. I mean, damn. Hey, is he right though? I mean, with some of the things I've seen, yeah, he fucked up our children's and grandchildren's future all up. You know what I'm saying? Him, McCarthy, Biden, and all of them and shit by passing a lot of these fucking bills and shit. Yeah, Gaetz is tearing it up though, boy. He calling their ass out.
10 and 20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
Once again, the chair would admonish the chair. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Mr. Speaker, I would inquire as to how much time remains for each side.
From Oklahoma controls 3 minutes. The gentleman from Florida has 3 minutes as well.
I advise the gentleman from Florida I'm prepared to close if he is. Mr. Speaker, I yield the balance of my time to my great friend from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong.
Gentleman from North Dakota, Mr. Armstrong, is recognized with the remaining 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear why we're here. Because the incentive structure in this town is completely broken. We no longer value loyalty, integrity, competence, or collaboration. Instead, we have descended to a place where clicks, TV hits, and the never-ending quest for the most mediocre taste of celebrity drives decisions and encourages juvenile behavior that is so far beneath this esteemed body. Kevin McCarthy has done more in 9 months to restore the People's House than any speaker in decades. We have done regular order. We have had open amendments. And every single member of this chamber has the right, the ability, and the opportunity to be heard on the floor. It's been messy, it's been raucous, and at times it's been chaotic. And God bless every minute of it, because democracy is supposed to be hard. And because the alternative is a closed-door process where 2,000-page bills come out of the Speaker's office at midnight and are forced to the floor the next morning. Kevin McCarthy has broken that cycle. That alone is enough for him to remain our Speaker. But that doesn't deliver his opponents what they crave the most: attention. We shouldn't stand for it. I won't stand for it. I will stand here with our Speaker, with our leader, that the overwhelming majority of our Congress supports. And you need to look no further than where the opponents are sitting today in this chamber. They're not over here, they're over there. So we're going to face these challenges together, and I say bring whatever comes next. Because we believe in the job you have done, Mr. Speaker. We believe in your vision. And most importantly, we are proud to call Kevin McCarthy our friend and our Speaker of the House. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. The gentleman from Florida is recognized with 3 minutes remaining.
To be clear, I tried to get one of the 3 podiums on the Republican side, and y'all wouldn't let me have them, so you sent me over here. But you know what? I'll make this argument at any desk in this building, from the well, from the chair. I'll make it on every street corner in this country that Washington must change. We have to break the cycle. We have to break the fever. And I would hope, truly, that the reforms that we are fighting for are reforms that would last and be embraced and that would democratize power in this institution beyond the privileged few who back us up against shutdown politics and Christmases and deadlines in order to achieve their objectives. Mr. Speaker, high inflation is on the verge of bankrupting American families. Our economy is breaking in half. A typical American family can't afford to buy a house in 99% of U.S. counties. Inflation is stealing more than $700 a month from working Americans, nearly $9,000 a year. Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he has failed to take a stand where it matters. So if he won't, I will. I make no apologies for defending the right of every hardworking American to afford a decent life for themselves and their families, and we have a greater opportunity to do that and to build coalitions under new leadership. We have to rip off the Band-Aid. We have to get back on a better course. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know how this vote's going to go. Usually when a vote comes to this floor, it's pretty predetermined. And this one, I'm not so sure. But I am sure that we've made the right argument, that this place deserves single subject spending bills, that we should have 72 hours to read a bill, that something that spends more than $100 million shouldn't be put on the suspension agenda such that we can't amend it, and there shouldn't be secret side deals made on a continuing resolution to lump Ukraine in with border security. That is not right for Ukraine or border security, because it fails to give either of those issues the dignity that they would require. But we can return that dignity to this House. We can get back on a better path. We can have single subject appropriations bills. We can set a budget top line. We haven't had a budget in this place since I was in high school. So let's get a budget. Let's get our act together. Let's get on with it. Let's vacate the chair, and let's get a better Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. All time for debate has expired. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the resolution. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The resolution is, gentleman from Florida.
I'd request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 3 of Rule 20, the chair directs the clerk to conduct the vote by a call of the roll. The clerk will call the roll alphabetically by surname. The House will be in order. The clerk may call the roll.
Adams. Yay. Adderholt. Nay. Aguilar. Yay. Alford. Nay. Allen. Nay. Allred. Yay. Amadei. Nay. Armstrong. No.
Now, we're not going to sit here and watch the...
Arrington.
Well, maybe we should. I never really...
Nay.
They never really did it like this on the stream.
Auchincloss.
Usually had that set of
Yay.
difficult numbers to follow.
Babin. Nay. Bacon. Nay. Baird. Nay. Balderson. Nay. Ballant. Yay. Banks.
Okay, they
Banks.
okay, y'all are ahead, and it looks like all they're gonna
Barr.
be doing is
Nay.
voting here.
Barragan.
We did get close behind them though. Boy, I think we're still showing 40-something minutes behind. Let's skip through a lot of this since we already know some of the scores.
Carter of Georgia. Nay. Carter of Louisiana.
Let's cut the time
Yay.
in half here.
Magaziner. Stauber. Carter of Texas.
Okay.
Carter of Texas.
What did you say the score was? 216, 210? Okay, we're right behind them. Now we're almost up to date. We probably should be like 2-3 minutes behind them now.
Tony Gonzalez.
There was no need
Nay.
to sit there and listen to all those votes.
Gooden of Texas.
Thank you, Tamara. I think this might have got me going a little bit.
Gooden of
man.
Texas.
I'm sitting up. Everything feel all right so far. So. Thank you. Other than that, I was just gonna lay in the bed, man, and say my back hurt, which actually do hurt.
Luna.
My neck and my shoulder, but I'm sitting up and
Luna.
everything all right now. So, and I was getting behind the more I, you know what I'm saying, sat back and watched folks cut up.
Mills. Nay.
Falling asleep 30 minutes into our shows and shit. Like, I don't think I did a good 30, 40
Pelosi.
minutes in none of our people's show.
Pelosi.
Or wake up and just drop the link. Or hit the
Peltola.
like button. You doze it in and out
Peltola.
and shit.
Sykes.
And besides, there was a lot of bullshit going on. This was a good
Sykes.
thing to throw up. You know what I'm saying? We ain't stressing the dumbass shit.
Are there other members in this body who have not been recorded or
I'm gonna try to
who
get
wish
one or two
to change
confessions later.
their
I'm trying
vote?
to set up one night where I'm gonna just be all night long. Just whatever goes, goes. But I was trying to get the StreamYard going on before I did that, though. Having a little bit of complications with the settings and things and stuff. I'll get there. 216, 210. Look like his ass might be getting out of there, but if he get out of there, what's the domino effect as far as the left though? Truthfully, I think he's holding a lot of pieces. You know what I'm saying? How much is he involved with all the stuff that's coming out? as far as Biden and all that. I think he kind of screwed up when he held back on some of the January 6th video, which I didn't know he did until like 2 days ago.
You got the tally?
I think I found that out
On
last
this
night,
vote,
by the way.
The yeas
that
are
debate that I put up
216.
on my wall.
The nays
on,
are 210.
Lou Valentino's
The resolution
channel.
is adopted.
Man, that was the
Without
dumbest
objection, the
liberal
motion to
I've ever
reconsider
seen, man.
is laid on the
There you go.
table.
How are you gonna
The office
battle
of Speaker of the House
3
of
people
the United
outside
States House
6
of
people
Representatives
outside of your
is
party at
hereby
one time.
declared vacant.
Say what?
Adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
So there's no leader of the House. Are they gonna take another vote on this, or do this just stand? These sizzle, if you in the bushes, man, what do this mean, man?
House will come to order. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. This is to notify you that the first name on the letter
House in
received by the
recess. I
clerk
thought they
pursuant
was
to
just
Clause
saying it was
8B,
vacant.
3B of Rule 1 is the Honorable Patrick T. McHenry of North Carolina. Signed sincerely, Kevin F. McCumber, Acting Clerk.
Pursuant to Clause 8B3 of Rule 1, I'll now act as Speaker
We
pro
don't
tem.
want no temporary
The chair will
people.
inform the members
This
of the
is
House
some
the
critical
following.
shit going
The
on
office
right
of
now.
the Speaker was rendered vacant pursuant to the adoption of House Resolution 757. Upon a vacancy in the office of Speaker, Clause 8B3 of Rule 1 provides that the next member on a list submitted by the Speaker, pursuant to the rule, acts as Speaker pro tem until the election of a new Speaker, and bestows the authorities of the office of Speaker upon the Speaker pro tem to the extent necessary and appropriate to that end. In the opinion of the Chair, prior to proceeding to the election of a Speaker, it would be prudent to first recess for the relative caucus and conferences to meet and discuss the path forward. Accordingly, pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess subject to the call of the Chair.
Damn, he hit that thing hard.
And
I wonder was it his wife's idea to make him put on a purple lavender tie with that gray suit? I'm just asking.
U.S. House now in a recess. A short time ago.
Okay, so they just gonna be in
Welcome back
recess?
to C-SPAN's live coverage of the U.S. House of Representatives, where moments ago.
That's too much information. Let's see. I got too many damn computer mouses in front of me. I'm using the wrong one. Get it off the screen here. Let me see what's going on. And where's my background music? Like everything be in order until you go live. Second here. All right, there we go. We check some things out here, see what's going on. I'm not sure if they're coming back because they're just in recess for the rest of the day. I think it might be the rest of the day because it's already after. It's almost 5 o'clock and I don't think they work after 5. I don't think they do any work at all, to tell you the truth. Damn, everybody was watching it. They almost had 20,000 people in that damn room. Okay, what was going on? I'm hearing double. In 2 songs, that's what I'm doing. Trying to see what else is going on real quick here. I think they might be done. If they're not done and I messed it up, I'll cut this and make sure I come back with the other half. Anything else live at this moment? Let me see, ooh. Let me see, Biden and them making billions off of Ukraine, as we already know. I just found out this past week and stuff, man, that Ukraine thing over there, them folks are actually Nazis over there and shit. They got banned from Canada and shit, and look like the prime minister might be getting pushed out because they keep inviting them over there. I might get in a little bit of that too. I got tons of content lined up. The thing is, how long can I sit up? I overdid it the other day with that 7-hour thing. And boy, I felt it afterwards. Any of our people live? Anything going on? I know the streets were starting to jump a little bit when I started this. Can't get the truth through upload. Miss Jones cooking up something else. Them damn collard greens were looking good the other day. But it don't look like nothing major is going on at this second. It's YouTube, the house, vote the motion, everything it is. What are they talking about here? Don't mind my background, man. My background and stuff is under construction. I'm trying some new things out. So hope y'all like it when I'm finished. Even though the tunnel and stuff was cool, I ain't like the contrast of it. Looked like it was blurry on my end.
Home Emporium is an exceptional shopping experience offering unique home furnishings and distinctive building materials.
Desktop volume on, so y'all don't hear what I'm hearing already. Checking out something here after the okay, they're in the same spot as we was, but they got something else afterwards. Let's see what this is here. Oops. I forgot to go full screen. I'm trying to be all up in nobody else's chat. I just want the info. do need to go live one day and just freestyle it, just whatever we come across.
How are you? Good. You got your thing now? We're going to do a presentation. Hello. How's it going? I love your red shirt.
Was that Great Britain?
Yeah, it was surprising. Look at her, she's so beautiful. Sure. Put him about them.
I know, that's what I'm like.
That was a good save. That's it there. You need tape. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Everybody got their mics.
He deleted his channel. What the hell?
Okay. I see Melissa dragged in her executive chair. That's good. Yeah. That's a good place. Yeah.
I'm about to say, Gabe, if you deleted your channel, you outnumbered, man. We're going to jump you, man. You'll feel better in the morning, but we're going to jump.
All right, well, hi, everybody. I'm going to give you a few minutes to set up. I just want to cover a few things. So today we have some great announcements coming in. Our speakers will be in shortly. They'll each come up to the stand, and just to help you again with your production needs, they'll say their name, they'll spell their name, and give you their title, just to get that out of the way. We will be trying during the Q&A session to repeat the questions as they come up, so just understand that process. And during the Q&A, when you have a question,
evidently this is a question and answer after what we just seen. This is the first one I ran across. Someone doing
we'll do a round of questions. It's a little bit of a tight schedule with the group we have, so it may be limited to
that means
one
we got
question
another show, Tamara.
each.
They
But they will be available later as well for additional questions, so I just want to be mindful of that. I think that's all I have, and we'll be in just a few minutes, okay, while you complete.
Even though I got about 12 or 13 of these things lined up in the cut, man, I just need to jump on.
Yeah, let's see who doesn't have a flight
I can stop falling asleep in these damn. I never had to leave before.
You're not in a hurry.
That's when you know something is wrong. If aspirin make you fall. Man, y'all ain't ready to go yet. You put that microphone up there, sloppy.
Him the deference to be able to decide whether.
Okay, here we go. We got action.
I want to hear from him.
Steve Scalise for Speaker of the House.
Maybe. I want to hear from him. I mean, I'm not here to make a judgment on where Mr. Scalise stands with his rehabilitation and recovery. I would give him the deference to be able to decide whether or not he'd like to put himself forward as a candidate, but he'd be the type of person that I could
Ms. Liz, I
see
think
myself
so.
supporting. There are many people, though. I could see
They
myself
calling
supporting
they
Tom
calling
Emmer.
the seat
I could see
vacant at
myself
this
supporting
moment.
Mike Johnson of
And
Louisiana.
I guess they
I could see
going
myself
to take a
supporting
vote
Jody
for a
Arrington of Texas. I could see
replacement. I'm not
myself
sure if it's going to be
supporting
today or
Kevin
not.
Hern, of Oklahoma. And there are even people outside of the United States Congress like Lee Zeldin, who are
And will
well
the next
thought of
person be
across
any
every
better?
aspect of our
I mean, they
conference,
do.
and I may
They
give
do
Lee
have a
Zeldin
lot
call and see if he's interested in the gig.
To me, McCarthy might be blocking a lot of things that could help out a lot of things that's going on.
Thank you
And
for
I think he's holding back
Because I just
and
heard on the
protecting
floor
certain
a
people.
bunch of these McCarthy allies say,
Which that's what we were scared of from the get-go. That's why it took him so long to get in. When it was time for him to go in, you know what I'm saying? These are the things that they were worried about. And for him holding back material for January 6th,
got to elect a new speaker. Sorry, guys.
How long do you think it's going to take?
that could have messed him up right there. That could have messed him up.
If nobody you support can get
So
to 18,
whatever we saw in those 40,000 hours that was released is more. So how much worse can it get? How bad did the media lie? Really, if there's more out there that makes makes the protesters look even better. It's like, what the fuck? They understand they were trespassing. Oh, damn, what the hell is this shit?
Radio Swiss Jazz.
I don't know what the fuck he talking about. I guess that's done now. Is there any more? What's called? Let me get off this for a minute. Give me 1 second here. How we going? Try to get as much of it as possible. So yeah, evidently they in recess right now. I guess that's it for today. The seat is vacant. I mean, I was with Jim Jordan, Miss Liz, man. Jim Jordan said he needed to stay, and Jim. Most people don't like Jim and stuff, things he do in Ohio and stuff like that. But when it comes down to the floor investigating and stuff like that, is where I think he really should be, instead of being a senator or something like that for a state or something. He need to just be there doing what he need to do. Because I think he's a very good investigator. You can't get stuff past him. You know what I'm saying? If he say we shouldn't remove him, then I'm gonna be with Jim on that. You know what I'm saying? But just looking at the situation, I think he might need to go. From all the other pieces that I noticed moving and going on and stuff, he might be blocking a lot of stuff that is important for us to eventually find out, or to cut down on a lot of these stupid debates and stuff like that on what's really going on. If this is it, I'm gonna try to find something real quick. Who is coming up next? It's 5 o'clock. Is Truth got anything set? Cause the streets just got hot, boy. The streets just got hot. And we trying to do the right thing over here, man. We trying to do the right thing, man. Stay with content that matters. And why am I showing that on my screen like that? But why is it doing? Oh, that's me on my studio screen. I'm like, all right, too many screens going. I'm confused. Not seeing too much else on this topic itself. But I'm gonna see if I can set up, man. I want to roast this damn girl from Philadelphia, man. Have y'all heard about the Black Lives Matter member and stuff, man? They got caught in Pennsylvania and stuff, looting the stores, live on goddamn Instagram, and then was crying when she got arrested and gave her a mugshot. That shit was hilarious. I can't believe they destroyed that much money with that looting, man. They was throwing the phones and the tablets and the laptops all down the sewer drain when they started going off, because they were stolen items. I guess the store can set off an alarm on all the devices that were stolen, and they was going off all in the streets and shit, and they were trying to get rid of them and stuff. It was like, y'all wasted all of that damn money. That is crazy. And it's like they trying to me, it's like they trying to give the picture of black folks doing this shit. I don't give a goddamn about Black Lives Matter. These people has put us in the worst position ever. Because say, for instance, if America happened to get control back, what you think the repercussions is going to be for all these out of control people that are just running around here thinking they can do anything? If they try to deport these people, most of these people are colored folks. I'm gonna use a Joe Biden word. They're colored folks, and you know what I'm saying. So that's gonna make it bad in a lot of our communities with racial profiling and all this shit. It's gonna crank right back up to give them the same excuse of, you know what I'm saying, racism, when actually they initiated this by supporting a fucking group and not knowing its true agenda. A lot of us was calling these fake motherfuckers out, but nobody wanted to hear us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was looking at that too. Man, Cali, man. I mean, man, if you want anything, just go to Cali and just run up in the store. If you get caught, it's probably gonna be a $50 bill. These fools do not care out there, man. These guys, especially Beverly, what is it? What's the name of that street in Beverly Hills where they go shopping and shit? I heard that shit is all fucked up. It's like I don't understand this shit. Like, why would it? They should call that shit reparations. It was like, damn. Well, True Hurst just went live, crime story. Which called I don't understand all this looting and stuff, man. It's like Rodeo Drive. That is crazy, man. I heard that shit. That shit don't even exist no more. It's like, what are we doing, man? We lost total control of our community. And when I mean my community, I'm talking about the black community. These kids and everything, I'm not sure if they paid off like these other kids and stuff that's paid off by the DNC that's all on social media trying to brainwash people into thinking a certain way and shit. There's enough information out there on that, but from what I remember throughout the pandemic and the protests back in 2020, we was on shows and stuff where people was actually pulling up evidence on Facebook of Facebook ads buying protesters. It was like $1,500 and all that shit, man, to go out there to fucking protest and fuck up shit. Not knowing, you know what I'm saying, where it's taking us. It's like, we really need some help, man, in breaking a lot of this shit down, man. Goddamn, what is communism? What is socialism? Why did Black Lives Matter point us in this direction to go deeper into poverty? But Black lives are supposed to matter. That woman walked away with over $90 million. Candace Owens called it out. Goddamn, the people got mad at her for calling it out, but still want us to run around and care about these little pieces of shit in the goddamn street, calling these so Black Lives Matter. Man, run their ass the fuck over. Shit. Get the hell out the damn way. You don't mean nothing you say. You walk past the same people in your fucking community that could be struggling on the corner, goddamn look homeless, is homeless, representing all kind of homelessness, and you'll walk right past them and don't say shit. But you'll go out there in a white community talking about some Black Lives fucking matter. I can't stand them motherfuckers. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but the ones that keep putting the camera on put a bad face on a lot of this shit, especially after J6, they won't admit that they was at the goddamn Capitol and shit doing all this bullshit and all this shit. Even though we got them on camera, they still wasn't there, which is the nigga way to be. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't me. Or like I do. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing. I stick to my story, and that's all I'm gonna say. You know what I'm saying? So I can't knock that part, but They put our culture in a bad position. All that work for the last 60 years, it went down the drain just because a bunch of young bitches is in their goddamn feelings. And I mean that shit straight like that. The young folks done ran the old folks. Convinced them on this dumbass shit like it wasn't no fucking progress since 1968, 1969. Man, this shit is fucking ridiculous. And this shit's sad. Mary Lou, I'm trying not to go off, man, but I'm starting to feel the itch, man. My leg's shaking. I'm about to go off, and I'm trying not to go off. But these kind of things are sensitive, and there ain't enough of us talking about it. You know what I'm saying? They rather talk about who said this about what and this and that and you said this and all that dumbass fucking shit, and we out here losing our motherfucking freedoms. Your kids ain't gonna have no fucking freedom. Goddamn, we ain't gonna have fucking shit. Like I told Facebook in 2019, you motherfuckers who voted for that motherfucker up in this bitch is gonna have our ass standing in a motherfucking bread line. And if I know you helped voted this shit in, I'm gonna knock your bitch ass out, goddamn. Cause this was no need for this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Stupidity was gonna put us in a fucking bread line. for lack of research and other things like that. But man, let me get off here before I say something stupid. I want to thank everybody for coming out, you know what I'm saying, and enjoying the show. I would try not for this to be so long of a gap, but I am trying to get my body back right. I'm sitting up now. It's been about probably almost 2 hours. The other day I did 7 hours. I think that was too long on my what's called my neck and my shoulders and stuff, and looking at the screen, and kind of reactivated certain things and stuff. So I don't want to do too much, but I will be back. I'm trying to find a bunch of breaking news stories, and even though I got other things I need to go into, but if somebody tears up for 7-Eleven because they upset about a lottery ticket. And gay man, they tearing up everything and shit, man. They stealing cars, man. You see the recall on Kias? I didn't know you could take a USB drive and goddamn start a goddamn Kia. 3.3 million cars are being recalled. Now that's some bullshit. So if you got a Kia, make sure your car is not on that recall list. But it's a sad thing out here, boy. It's like, I thought Kia were doing good. There was enough people investing in the company, giving the company hope, and just, thank y'all. Thank you, Missy Lou. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Sanjia. And Gabe up in the building. I might hit you on the cut. You know what I'm saying? Rum Shaker's still up in here. I know I had to talk to her. There might be a couple of people I need to talk to before I lay back down. Make sure DJ get her setting straight so she can rock the house. She finally got something up on the screen. I'm proud of her. You know what I'm saying? Got daggone easy student, man. Got daggone. If you want to learn anything about the OBS system or anything like that, please let me know. Or you know what I'm saying, if I'm not available, D-Truth might be available. You know what I'm saying, for programs like that, for streaming and stuff. Somebody dropped Truth Hurts link real quick. Think she's on the Crime Witch Call channel. We're gonna do some more content that matters. You know what I'm saying? Because the rest of this other shit don't fucking matter. Oh no, she shared my post. Never mind. I thought she was going live. Thank you, Truth. If you in the bushes there, thank you. But with that being said, no telling how the next couple of minutes might go. I might come back. I know I always say that. Pretty soon, like I said, y'all gonna be tired of seeing me. But until then, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This was a great live, and I will see you next time. Make sure y'all smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this out. You know what I'm saying? Comment down on the bottom. Let me know how you feel about McCarthy, being removed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if that's official yet. I'm not sure if they just saying recess, or it's vacant until this vote is over here, and then we're gonna have another vote to vote somebody in if they vote which called. But okay, cool. Thank you, Serious. I thought she was live. I think she just shared me out. But yeah, I will be back until next time. Peace. Now I have to find out which mouse I'm using, and where's my OBS screen at? Boy, that's a lot going on over here. How should I go out? How should I go out? Go out with my favorite one. And I'm playing 2 at a time.